we have with us Julia Ioffe, American journalist. We'll talk with her about future Putin-Trump's meeting and possible consequences of it. Hello, Julia. My first question is, on 13th of July, we had the information about these 12 Russian intelligence officers that interfered the elections in the U.S. How this information influenced the possible agenda of Trump's Putin meeting in Helsinki?
Well, it seems like the timing couldn't have been more perfect, and it also seems like Robert Mueller and his team wanted to send a very clear message, not just to the Russians, but to the American people, that they know exactly what the Russians did in the 2016 election, how they did it. They have all the, again, of course, this is an indictment. This is not a judgment. These are allegations that still have to be proven in a court of law. But the fact that this came out 3 days before a meeting with Putin, I think, sends a very clear message that, by the way, this guy you're going to meet with is not your friend. He's not fine. The problem, of course, is that President Trump was briefed on the contents of this indictment a few days ago, and he still decided, so even earlier than we saw it, and he still decided to keep the meeting with Putin.
What this meeting will be about? EU seems really worried. Should it be worried before this meeting?
Honestly, I don't know what this meeting is going to be about. I don't know why the president wanted this meeting. It's just, honestly, as you can tell, I'm kind of speechless as to why he even wants this meeting. He says that we need to get along with Russia, but he can't seem to articulate why we need to get along with Russia, or to what, he seems to not understand that in foreign relations, getting along with people is great, but there has to be also kind of a point to trying to get along with an adversary. You have to want to get something done, and he has not been able to lay out what it is he wants to get done with Vladimir Putin's help. He seems to just like the guy, and that's dismissing or not even touching the more kind of sinister allegations. The interesting thing is that his administration, the kind of lower level people, his National Security Council, his Department of Justice, Department of Treasury, Department of State, have been very tough on Russia. They have given lethal aid to Ukraine, for example. They have sanctioned more and more people in Russia connected to the Kremlin, and it seems to be two completely different administrations in one. So his administration is doing something, and he is kind of on his own planet when it comes to this.
Many journalists and experts, they say that they predict that presidents will speak about Crimea, about lifting the sanctions, about NATO issues. What can we expect, and really should the EU or American citizens or people in Ukraine, should they be worried about the topics the president is going to talk about?
Well, again, we don't actually know what they're going to discuss. This is speculation given on what Russia wants to discuss, because it's not really clear what the U.S. needs Vladimir Putin to do at this point, especially if he's not going to admit that his army intelligence meddled in our elections. So these are all guesses as to what they're going to discuss. That said, in private, we know that Trump has said, Crimea is Russian, forget about it. Why do you care so much? Why do you deal with the Ukrainians? They're so corrupt. Basically things you would hear in Moscow. But then publicly he'll say Crimea was annexed under Obama's watch. It was his disaster. So, he clearly has a problem taking a clear position, at least publicly. I think that if I were Ukrainian, I might worry that Crimea will be signed off to the Russians by the President of the United States.
Some political observers, they concerned that presidents, they're going to meet alone behind the closed doors, face to face. Is it possible, in your opinion, in this case, in this situation?
What is possible?
That they're going to meet alone behind the closed doors without any witnesses.
Yeah, it seems right now. It seems like that's going to be the case, and when they met on the sidelines of the G20, I believe it was a year ago, that's exactly how they met. We didn't know about the meeting. We found out about the meeting, from the Russian side. Then we found out there was nobody there. Nobody there to take notes, nobody there to advise the president. The New Yorker had a wonderful article talking to experienced American diplomats and negotiators who said this feels like an amateur boxer going in to face Muhammad Ali alone.
You were at the recent NATO summit. What would you say about Trump's behavior and his relations with the partners, especially European partners?
I think this is what is so confusing to people, is that these countries who have been allies of the United States for decades, he maligns, he insults, he treats very poorly, he constantly berates them, insults them. But countries that have been threatening the United States for years, or who have been, like Russia, getting involved in our elections, he says he's a great guy, he's fine. It seems like all the hardest rhetoric is saved for our friends, and all the nicest words are saved for our, let's just say, adversaries. And I think many people, especially in the foreign policy community, people at the NATO summit, there were a lot of Europeans there. I think they're trying to put a good face on it and say it's okay. We will, we're going to persevere. We're going to, the transatlantic relationship will survive. But I think there's this deep consternation that, why is he being so mean to us and so nice to Kim Jong-un and so nice to Vladimir Putin?
Okay, thank you for your answers and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.